Hello, my wonderful community of viewers and subscribers. Thank you for joining me. It's the middle of the night here in Europe, and a storm is raging on outside. Maybe you can hear the rain on my roof. Maybe you can hear the storm. Well, anyway, I can't sleep, and I thought it would be a good idea to make a video and use Google Street View to show you around in a city that is very important and very dear to me, which is Berlin, the capital city of Germany. Now, many of you are not from Europe. I know many of you are from the United States and from India, so let's first get an idea of where Berlin actually is. So here, of course, we got the United States of America, we've got India over here, and here we've got Europe. And we can zoom in on Europe. And then there is the country of Germany. And you can already see here in the middle of the screen there's Berlin. It's a pretty large city and it's growing. It's not as big as you would expect for such a country as Germany, because the population of Germany is over 80 million, and the capital city Berlin is only home to about, I think, 3.5 million people. So it's not a huge city population-wise. Let me first take you to a place that is pretty important for me in Berlin. That would be my hotel, where I stay most of the time when I visit Berlin. I've been visiting Berlin about 40 to 50 times for the past 10 years. I've made lots of business trips and private trips to Berlin, and then I usually stay in the Park Inn Hotel at Alexanderplatz. So let's start our journey at the Alexanderplatz. And that will be here. Here I am at Alexanderplatz. And the hotel, the Park Inn Hotel, is here. That's this building. I think it still is the tallest building in Berlin. I'm not sure about that. It's not that tall. By European standards, it is. Certainly by German standards, there are only very, very few skyscrapers, and most of them are in Frankfurt and not in Berlin. But this is the Park Inn Hotel. I think it has about 40 floors. It's about 120 meters tall, I believe, so that would be like 360 feet or something. So this is the place where I mostly stay. So I've been here about 40 times in this hotel. Not very healthy, but very convenient. There is a Burger King at the bottom of the building, so that's convenient. And so you're here at the Alexanderplatz, which it's really, I must be honest about this, it's a very ugly square. Alexanderplatz means, it translates in English to Alexander Square, and the most important feature of this square is that it's located in the area of Berlin that used to be a part of the zone that was occupied by the communist regime in during the Cold War. I was born in 1966, and so I spent my teen years in the 80s. And that was one of the pinnacles of the Cold War. And actually, I went to Berlin twice when I was 17 or 18 years old. We did that with school. It was a school trip. And during those days, this part of Berlin was still occupied by the communist regime. And it terrified me. I was so scared when I was walking around here with my classmates. I was really terrified about, the whole atmosphere in the city. I just felt the repression. I wasn't at ease at all. So it took me years to come back to Berlin, but unknowingly, those visits to Berlin, in a way, they shaped my thinking about the world, and it really changed the way I saw the world as a teenage boy, and it actually changed my life because I started to learn the German language, and eventually I became a guest lecturer at Berlin University. I've done that for about 10 years or so. I've got friends in Berlin, so Berlin has become a very important city for me. So as you can see, well, these are images from July 2022. So summers in Berlin are pretty warm, very nice weather during summer most of the time. But nonetheless, this square, this Alexanderplatz, it's such an ugly place. You've got the hotel, of course, there, and some shops. And here should go a little bit closer to this building here, which is pretty important. So there we are. This building, the Galeria Kaufhof, which is one of the largest department stores of Germany. I love to hang around there, buy some stuff. But let's leave the square and go to some important landmarks of Berlin. Let's have a look at them here, for example. We've got the Fernsehturm, which is the TV tower of Berlin, one of the tallest structures of Europe, actually. I think it's about 370 meters tall. Let's just jump to that tower. So there we are, at the base of the Fernsehturm, 370 meters tall, I believe. So that would be about like 1,000 feet tall. And there is this viewing platform here, which gives a wonderful view of the city. I love it. And although the Fernsehturm is supposedly one of the most ugly buildings of the city, I really love it. I enjoy going to the viewing platform, but it's the only place where you don't see this tower, which I think is a disadvantage. So I often go to the observation deck of the hotel, the Park Inn hotel, because then you've got a nice view of the tower itself, of the Fernsehturm itself, and I like that. So. This, by the way, is the railway station, Alexanderplatz, and there's the subway, the underground, and I use this station all the time. Oh, there's one of those electric scooters, someone dropped it, and it is a bit of shabby environment, loads of people living on the street, hanging around, in and around the station, but I love the place. Let me take you to another place. What I often do is I go for a walk. That's one of the first things I do. So I go to the hotel, but let's imagine we've got a room in the Park Inn hotel, and we use that as a starting point for a nice walk. So here we are again at Alexanderplatz, and we're just leaving the hotel. Maybe we got ourselves some coffee at Burger King, and now we go for a walk. Let's go for this direction. I usually walk here, get myself a donut at Dunkin'. So this is the underground. U, and the letter U. In Germany, this letter is U, and it means Untergrund. So this is the U-Bahn. It means the underground. Railway system. So we can have a walk here and go into the direction of the Rotes Rathaus, which means the Red City Hall, which we will see on our left hand in just a moment. So there it is, the Red City Hall. Let's find a nice spot right in front of it. It's a beautiful building. I really like it. At night it's fully lit, And then the red color, you can see the nice red color much better. You can go inside during the day. It's beautiful. And then I walk on. And then I go to the cathedral, the Berliner Dom, the Cathedral of Berlin. And sometimes I go inside, I buy myself a ticket, and I climb the dome, which is extremely beautiful. It's such a beautiful building. And so this road is called the Unter den Linden. So under the linden. Linden are trees. That's a specific sort of trees. And this really is the main boulevard of the eastern part of Berlin. So it goes from Alexanderplatz to the Brandenburger Tor, the Brandenburg Gate, which is one of the most iconic landmarks of Berlin, and you'll see it in a moment. So this is the cathedral, and I've often visited the dome itself. So you got to climb all these narrow stairs. It's very narrow inside. But the view is amazing. For the past few years, they've been building this building, which is called the Berliner Stadtschloss, so the Berlin Castle, if you will. I think the price tag was about €1 billion, so which is a formidable amount of money. It's meant as a replica of the former Berliner Stadtschloss, which was heavily damaged during World War II, and I think the remains were demolished by the communists, and they replaced it with a building that they called the Palast der Republik, which was the palace of the Republic, which was meant to be the place for the people, where there was culture and exhibitions and stuff like that. But I think eventually it became one of the most hated buildings in East Berlin because it represented the communist regime so much. And after reunification of Germany, of East and West Germany, one of the first things the local authorities did was demolish this horrible Palast der Republik. I've seen the Palast. Oh, the rain. Can you hear the rain and the storm? I guess you can. I actually visited the Palast der Republik when I was 17 years old. I went inside. No, it was fascinating, but it was kind of an intimidating building. So I usually walk over the Unter den Linden. Here you got the museum. So we're in a part of Berlin now which is called the Museum Island. So they got the great museums of the city are all here. They're really wonderful. If you like museums, Berlin is the place to be. So one of the problems with this wonderful boulevard is that it's always under construction. So you can see this in Google Street View. It's been under construction for many, many, many years. I don't know what the situation right now is. I think this was still under construction last year. But I think much of it is completed now. So let's move on. This is Unter den Linden. Spectacular boulevard with all these historical buildings. So especially on a sunny day, I really love strolling around here. So this is a very important building. It's small yet very important. And during the time of the communist regime, you got these communist soldiers in front of it guarding the building, which I thought was terrifying. They really look like dangerous guys. On the right side, you will see Humboldt University. That was not my university. I was employed at another university in Berlin, not this one, not Humboldt. And as you can see, the Ukraine flag is waving over Berlin in many places in Berlin. This is absolutely one of the most beautiful squares of Berlin. I love to walk around on this square. Look at those buildings. But let's continue our walk along the boulevard of Unter den Linden. So they've been extending one of the underground lines because in the past there never was a true connection between the Alexanderplatz with its TV tower and the Park Inn Hotel, which is a very important place for Berlin. There never was a good underground connection between the Alexanderplatz and the Brandenburg Gate, so they extended the underground line 5, I think it's 5, from Alexanderplatz to the Brandenburg Gate. So this is a very important public transport connection that I use it all the time now. And it's beautifully built. It took about 10 years to complete it, but now that it's there, I think it's very useful, and it's very important to the city. This part of Berlin actually is very beautiful, but in general, I wouldn't say that Berlin is an absolutely beautiful city, because it isn't. Many parts of it are actually pretty ugly, and that in most of the time that has got to do with the communist past of Berlin. So beautiful buildings have been destroyed in World War II, and after that the remains were demolished by the communist regime, and they replaced it with their typical Stalinist architecture, which is something special. So this is also a very remarkable building. I think this is owned by the Volkswagen Group, and they've got their one of their most important showrooms here, Volkswagen Group Forums. You see, so every time I'm in Berlin, I try to visit this building and see what's on display. So there's another important showroom of Mercedes-Benz on the other side of the Unter den Linden. But this one from the Volkswagen Group is much bigger, much more to see. They show historical models and the newest concept cars and stuff like that. And they also show very common Volkswagen models, but they also show Lamborghinis and Bentleys, and that's all part of the Volkswagen Group. And Bugatti, Bugatti is owned by Volkswagen as well, and Audi. So they've got some interesting brands, and they display those cars in this wonderful building, which is, to me, as a car enthusiast, it's just very interesting to be and hang around. So let's move on and go towards the Brandenburg Gate. Lots of touristic shops here where you can buy all kinds of tourist crap. Of course, that's, pretty common in these big cities. Now we get to another very important part of this street, Unter den Linden, which is this city block, this entire city block. And I believe most of it is owned by the Russian government. So you can see there's Aeroflot, which is the national Russian airline, and there's also the Russian embassy is here in so that's this building. Let's move a bit closer. So this is where it starts, and this embassy, this Russian embassy, absolutely is an example of this Stalinist architecture that you've got in Berlin and many other German cities. See? So this is the Russian embassy. The Polizei, so the police is guarding it, in front of it, because, Okay, so in the distance you can already see the Brandenburg Gate, Brandenburger Tor, as it's called in German. So let's head for the Brandenburg Gate. I think we're very close now. Did I already pass the famous Friedrichstrasse or so, Friedrich Street, or is that? Yeah, that was at Volkswagen Forum. This the famous Friedrichstrasse, the street with all the theaters and stuff. Perhaps we can go back to that later. This is an important street. I just forgot the name, but we can have a look at the name. But because this is a street where the British Embassy is, and so they closed it down, so no regular traffic can enter this street. This is the British Embassy right here. I could zoom in. There you can see the British flag waving. So this is their embassy, and of course you can walk through this street, but no regular car traffic can enter this street. So they pretty much secured the entire street because of the British Embassy. All right, and so we're almost at the Brandenburg Gate, and there's the famous Adlon Hotel here, and this is the place where, you know, people like George Clooney and Brad Pitt and guys like that, if they visit Berlin, this is the place to be for them. This is where they stay. So often you can see these luxury cars waiting for celebrities and other VIPs, so to pick them up and to bring them to the place where they need to be. And I mentioned Brad Pitt and George Clooney because Berlin is host to the annual Berlinale, which is the Berlin Movie Festival. And I often visit Berlin during the Berlin Movie Festival. And then there are all kinds of celebrities and movie stars in Berlin. Actually, I've seen George Clooney. I've seen George Clooney in real life in Berlin. I took a picture of him. And I've seen Christian Bale in real life in Berlin, and I took a picture of him as well. So yes, you can find yourself some celebrities in Berlin now and then. Absolutely, yeah. So here we are at the Brandenburger Gate. Loads of stuff under construction, as always, but we can reach the Brandenburg Gate. By the way, this is the American Embassy, so also heavily guarded. It's a huge building complex, and but it's right here, right next to the Brandenburg Gate. So this is one of the most iconic monuments of Germany. And to me, it's always important if I go to Berlin, to walk under the Brandenburg Gate. So this is such an important historic place. This is where the Berlin Wall actually was. So we can cross it. We can walk right under the Brandenburg Gate. This is amazing. So of course I do this in real life all the time, but this time we use Google Street View. We can walk right under the Brandenburg Gate. That's nice. But this is where the Berlin Wall was. This was where the city was split in two. This was where the big divide was between the east and the west. So we're now still in East Berlin. Well, actually, this was a minefield. This area was a minefield. They made signs indicating where the wall was. And you can see it everywhere on the pavements and on the streets in Berlin. Let's see if we can find it, because yes, this is where the actual Berlin Wall was. So we're now standing in the west. This was the western part of Berlin. So this was the free part. This is where, where the United States and Britain and France ruled. This is where the people were free. And now we take one step to the left, if possible. We're still in the free part. So now we're in the eastern part. So this is where Russia was in charge. And then we're talking about the Russia from the 1980s, which was a communist dictatorship. So now we're in East Berlin. Nice view on the Brandenburg Gate. So these are beautiful parks, by the way. I love to stroll around there on a sunny day. But let's walk into this direction, and you see there's a lot of street life going on in Berlin. If you like street life, Berlin is the place to be in the summer. Everyone's outside, walking. There are events everywhere. You can eat and drink everywhere. There's music everywhere. Lovely place. But I want to go into this direction. So we go in this direction because we're heading for the Potsdamer Platz, which is a modern area. Oh, this is also very important. This is the Holocaust Monument, which is, well, depending on how you look at it, kind of a monstrosity. This is a huge monument consisting of, I think, a couple of thousands of these concrete blocks. Look at this. So it's, well, you got to be there to really understand it. You got to experience it, because walking between those concrete blocks it's really a kind of a frightening experience. Look, we're floating on top of the monument. But look at it. It's huge. So this is one monument. We were on our way to Potsdamer Platz, which is a modern area with a huge shopping mall and lots of restaurants. And I've been there 100 times maybe. Just to have lunch, do some shopping, stroll around with friends. So there it is, the Potsdamer Platz. And they've got some interesting stuff here as well. For example, these remains of the Berlin Wall. Let me zoom in on that. So these are actual parts of the historic Berlin Wall. There's only little left of the Berlin Wall, and these are original parts of the Berlin Wall. I can take you to the East Bahnhof, the East Railway Station. There is a place called East Side Gallery, which is the largest remaining part of the Berlin Wall in existence. And it's like a mile long. It's turned into a work of modern art because all these segments of the Berlin Wall have been used by artists to make paintings on it, and they all have got messages. They contain messages regarding peace and war. And if you visit Berlin, you should not skip the East Side Gallery. You should definitely have a look at that. So why not do it now? Why not leave the Potsdamer Platz and go to East Side Gallery? So let's go back to the east of Berlin. Of course, I could jump, but instead I will be driving at the Leipziger Straße. This is where the Mall of Berlin starts. So the Mall of Berlin, you wouldn't recognize this as the biggest shopping mall of Berlin, but nonetheless it is. It's pretty new. It's only been there for a few years, like Mall of Berlin. And it's located in a series of buildings, a series of existing buildings. So it's not built as one new building. So you don't recognize it as the biggest mall of Berlin, but it is. So they've got about 200 or 250 shops. This is all Mall of Berlin on the left side, and you can have a peek to one of the other entrances, So this is also part of the Mall of Berlin, this building and everything you see here and that building. So it's pretty huge. But let's continue at Leipziger Straße. We're going back to the Alexanderplatz, and there maybe we can. You cannot take the train in Google Street View, but I'll find my way to the East Side Gallery, being the largest remainder of the Berlin Wall. This is what you see in Berlin a lot. These types of buildings. That's the kind of brutalist architecture from the 70s that was so typical for the communist regime. Okay, so yeah, Leipziger Straße, I think one of the most ugly streets of Berlin. I think this is Friedrichstraße, the famous Friedrichstraße, and it leads. Let's have a look at the street signs, because then we can go to Checkpoint Charlie, the famous Berlin checkpoint Friedrichstraße. So let's extend the trip and go to the famous Checkpoint Charlie, the place one of the places where you could travel from the west to the east and the other way around. So there are these signs saying you're now leaving the American zone, you're now leaving the Russian zone, stuff like that. So this is where it actually was. This is where the actual checkpoint was. And it's an interesting area. You also got this panorama here, which I've visited quite a few times. So it's a panorama, a huge panorama picture of the Berlin Wall. When you're inside, they're trying to revive this whole atmosphere of you being in Berlin in the 80s, right at the moment of the fall of the Berlin Wall. I would recommend this. I've been here many times. I really like it. I think it's an interesting place. And let's go back to the Unter den Linden. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet, but we can go. We can take another street. By the way, these streets, I've been walking in these streets for many, many times. Sometimes I go out with friends in Berlin, and usually they bring me to my hotel by car. Or sometimes I insist on walking, and then I walk from their place to my hotel, and then in the middle of the night I'm, strolling here. It's a pretty safe place at night, Berlin, at least in my opinion. I've never experienced any problems, never had the idea that I was in a dangerous situation. Again, these are, very typical buildings for Berlin. Ugly architecture from the 70s. I think the 70s or the 60s. You see loads of that in Berlin. So I'm almost back at Alexanderplatz. I already saw the TV tower. There it is in the distance. This is how my friends often bring me back to my hotel. They use this road, and then they drop me at the Park Inn. Yeah, maybe it's more convenient to act as if we take the underground or the train and go from the station Alexanderplatz right to the east railway station of the east, the Ostbahnhof. That'll go a bit quicker. Let me see. So here we've got Alexanderplatz, and then we first pass the railway station Jannowitzbrücke, so the Janowitz Bridge, and then the next stop, maybe I miss one, but here is the Ostbahnhof, so the railway station of the east. This is the Ostbahnhof, so the station of the east. And I use the public transport in Berlin all the time. It's so freaking good. I really like you've got the U-Bahn, so the underground, but you also got the S-Bahn, which is the Stadtbahn, so it's kind of a local train above ground mostly. And it's a wonderful system. It's cheap and it brings you everywhere, and I really like it. So let's go to the East Side Gallery. You can already see it here in the distance. So that's the largest remaining part of the Berlin Wall that's still in existence. And what I really hate is that because this is such an important monument to the city. What I really hate is that apparently they gave permission to companies to build new apartment buildings here right next to the Berlin Wall, the only real remaining part of the Berlin Wall, and they allowed them to take out parts of the Berlin Wall, which is ridiculous, which is insane. But please have a look at all these amazing murals, these wall paintings, and there are some of them are so iconic. They're so like the dove of peace here. I mean, this one is iconic and basically super famous. I've been here like 20 or 30 times. When I go to Berlin, I always want to walk here because it's so important for European history. Look, curriculum vitae of the Berlin Wall. So I only learned this recently during one of my last visits in Berlin. Is the Berlin Wall, of course, was erected in 1961 and it fell in 1989. And what they've done is they've printed all these years here, and they dotted it with purple and pink dots, and all these dots, they represent people who died while trying to cross the Berlin Wall. So all these dots represent people who died because of the wall. And then at the end, even in the last year when the Berlin Wall fell, even then people died because of the wall. 136 people died while trying to escape, which is ridiculous if you think of it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, I so much like this one. This one is so beautiful. It's great. Really love it. This is the Oberbaumbrücke, so that's the bridge over there. It's a beautiful bridge. It's over here. Yeah. Ah, look at it. This one, oh man, this one is iconic. Look at that. Yeah. All these people trying to escape to freedom. So freedom is one of the most important themes of this East Side Gallery. Oh, it's so nice to be here again, even though it's just Google Street View. Oh. I really like this one. Like this one as well. It's beautiful. Oh, there it is. There's the Trabant, the car coming right through the Berlin Wall. This is so great. So this represents the deep desire of people in the East to, just to live a life of freedom. And what they, this is displayed by, this is imagined in this way. So one of their cars driving from the east to the west, breaking through the Berlin Wall, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. It looks as if they blurred the license plate. Oh boy. So this is what I think is reprehensible. So there's this new apartment complex, and so they allowed for this complex to just remove a part of the Berlin Wall. Yeah, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. Look, and they did it again. They did it again over here. Another part of the Berlin Wall. They just removed it. Why? Because of rich people in luxury apartments. Stupid. And very irresponsible. Okay. I did my rant. Some of these paintings just are very funny. So many of these artists just had a very, very good sense of humor. So you got, of course, you had the American sector, you had the French, the British sector, and the Russian sector in Berlin during the time of the Cold War. And this painting says, so this is a detour to the Japanese sector, which is, yeah, it's funny. This one always fascinates me, the Garden of Eden. Nice. Yeah, so many. You see many comic characters in these paintings. So we can see Batman here and the Joker, which is nice. So each and every time that I'm here, I learn new stuff about these paintings. So I'll read all these little notes that they've put there with explanations. This one is amazing. There's so much detail in this one, I could watch this for hours. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. There are another few paintings that we want to see. One of them being The Kiss of Leonid Brezhnev, who was the leader of the Soviet Union in the 70s, and Erich Honecker. Oh, there they are. Erich Honecker, who was the party leader of the Communist Party of East Germany. So, brüderlicher Kuss, which means the fraternity kiss. So it's the kiss of brothers. Yes, two communist dictators, expressing their love towards each other. So it's one of the most famous paintings on the Berlin Wall, and people often make selfies here. So there's only a small part left of the Berlin Wall, a couple of 100 yards, and then it's done. And this actually is all that's left of the Berlin Wall. Once it was a few 100 kilometers, and now there's only 1 mile left. But you can still visit it, although more and more parts of the Berlin Wall are disappearing, which is, oh look, I like this one as well. This is Mikhail Gorbachev, so the leader of the Soviet Union, who, together with Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, made it possible for the Berlin Wall to fall and for the Cold War to end. This is where I end this tour of Berlin, and maybe I'm gonna make some more of these tours in Berlin using Google Street View, because there's so much more to see in Berlin, especially for me to show you, because I've been there so often. But for now, it's time to end this video. Otherwise, it will be far too long. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you thought this to be interesting. If you've never been there, I think it's really recommendable to go and visit it once if you have the opportunity, just to immerse yourself into the recent history of Europe. This is one of the most important places of European history there is. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.